Well, good morning. Hey, so glad that you're with us. If we've never met, my name is Whit. I'm the lead pastor here at the church. A couple things before we start. Just really quick about Trey. He is an absolute answered prayer. When you think about somebody being anointed to for a time and place such as this, very super clear. You should be here, Trey. And God's doing great things in your life. And we've seen it over and over that you've found the favor of God here, and He's been with you, and He's been before you, and He's provided. And so we're super excited about what Trey is doing through FCA and on campus and his influence. And then for you, want you to know this. We started this new series last week called Season on the Mount. And really, we're talking about one sermon of Jesus that we're going to take 13. So I'm going to take 13 sermons to relay to you. You can read this sermon in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. So you can read through it. And I time myself. You can read through it in a little under 13 minutes. If you're an average reader, you need to know this. It's 106 verses. So over the course of 13 weeks, we're spending 13 weeks on just 106 verses. But this is the greatest sermon ever shared. Last week we started in chapter 5 of Matthew, and we read verses 1 to 12 together. And we kind of came up with this conclusion, and the idea behind those first 12 verses or this idea of #blessed, like our attitudes matter. Spiritual prosperity comes through our attitudes. And Jesus talked about blessed are those who are poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are those who are meek. And it is just an upside down idea from what our culture knows. So I would encourage you, you still have plenty of time. That will take you like 2 minutes this afternoon to go back and read Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 to 12. You can do that today. We got a bookmark for you. If you need to grab a bookmark to stay in line with this series, you can grab a bookmark at the welcome desk on your way out this morning. Today, we're moving on. We're looking at chapter 5 of Matthew. We're going to look at verses 13 to 16. If you're a note taker, today's title, the idea of this talk is set apart. Is we're called to be set apart. And I don't know if you've ever had a feeling or a place or an environment or a season of life where you felt set apart. I can remember in about the 5th or 6th grade, I began to realize, full disclosure, my name, I go by Whit most often, but my name is Whitney. And I realized in about the 5th or 6th grade, I think I might have a girl's name. I'm not sure about this. And I knew that because out on the playground, people would say, hey, Houston. I'm like, yeah, I know, I've got it. I understand Whitney Houston. You can Google her if you're young. But anyhow, I knew I'm a little bit different. This name's a little bit set apart. And in the 6th grade, I remember I had a sleepover at this dude's house. He was my best friend growing up. His name was Styles. And so it's late at night, and we're laying in his room. We're about to go to bed, and I'm like, we've got to talk about this. Maybe he'll connect with this. His name's Styles. And I said, do you ever think, just between you and I, but do you ever think maybe we have girls' names? And I will never forget what Styles told me in the 6th grade. He said, no, we have names girls will remember. Yeah, hey, oh. We were set apart. He was set apart. We were set apart. And I think as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we're called to be set apart. Like these 4 verses, this is what this whole thing's about today, is we're set apart. We're called to be salt and light. We're called to be different. And here's what's, I wrestled through this week of oh my goodness, maybe we'll just skip this one because that's so elementary. And then it even kind of leveled up in my mind that this is so elementary that yesterday my mom texted me and she says, hey, this is really neat how God works. I'm teaching this same verse, Matthew 5:13-16, in the kindergarten class tomorrow. And so today, right now, my mom is preaching to your kindergartners that we need to be set apart, that we need to be salt and light. And this morning, we're going to preach about being set apart, and we're going to preach about being salt and light. And as followers of Jesus, whether you're in kindergarten or whether you're 100 years old, we need to be set apart. We need to be different no matter what season of life you're in. So here we go. Matthew chapter 5, verses 13-16. Jesus says, and again, this is right after the Beatitudes. And Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot." And you got to know this about salt. Like in this day, I found this out this week, that Roman soldiers, they were paid in salt. Like, can you imagine that? Like, you work a little overtime this next week. Like, tomorrow afternoon, you stay late, and you're like, hey, I work 2 hours beyond 3:30. Like, I need to be paid overtime. And your boss came in and said, here you go. Well, these Roman soldiers, these are in this day, Romans, they were paid in salt. And the word that Jesus would have used was, you are salarium. And we take that word in our culture, we've taken the word salt and salarium, and we've called it salary. Like he's saying, you are of great value. Like you are salary, you are value, you are set apart. You're of value to the community and the people around you. You are the salt of the world. You're different. And I think about salt. I mean, salt makes, this is more like not so theological, but again, set apart. As I think about salt, it makes everything better. Like if you put, like this afternoon, you may stop by Casa del Mar and you put some salt on your chips that have already been salted. Like like it's just a little bit better. I have some friends and I have some family members that after I salt it to add a little value, they pick up one chip at a time and salt that one. It adds flavor. You ever had popcorn without salt? Meh. You put a little salt on it? Whoa. You pay $25 at the AMC for that. It's a value. You think through like salt on popcorn, salt on chips. It makes things better. When you walk in the office tomorrow, you add a different flavor. You make that place better. You're salt. You're set apart. You're of a different flavor. You stand out. You think about McDonald's French fries? Oh. It makes them better. That's not even real food, but for a moment, it makes it better. I mean, this first couple of rows are going to have to settle down. Like salt. You're salt. You think about salt, like, it makes you thirsty. We used to be running the student ministry on a tight budget. For just a couple bucks a week, we'd be like, we got a couple bucks to give toward a game. Let's go get a pack of saltine crackers and ask a sixth grader, can you eat that in 3 minutes or less without drinking water? Nobody could do it. No, I wouldn't even try it. It's a choking hazard. But when you try to pound a bunch of salt real fast, you're thirsty. In the Beatitudes, do you remember Jesus talking about those who are chasing what's right, those who hunger and thirst for what's right? You represent what's right. You make those thirsty. With salt, it's a preservative. It's a preservative. In this day, These people would have known. These Romans would have known. These early Jesus followers, these disciples of Jesus would have known. No, salt in our day, it's a preservative. We don't have electricity. We can't put our meat in a freezer. That they had to pack salt around it to preserve it. We're called to be salt, to be a preservative. We don't want this world, we don't want the people within this world to go to decay. Like, we're called to be salt. We're called to preserve. Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, but if that salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Verse 14, Jesus says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. And in John chapter 9, verse 5, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Now he's flipping the switch and he's saying, you too are the light of the world. Like, he just went plural. I'm God and abide, but when you say yes to me and you're following me, you shine. You are the light of the world. And Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5:20, he says, we are ambassadors of Christ. We are his representatives, as if God were making his appeal through us, that he wants to reconcile the world back to God through you, through us. We are the light of the world. Jesus said, I'm the light of the world, and this is a plural. This is about us. We're set apart. We're the light of the world. This is different. We shine bright. You're a part of this. The original word Jesus would have used here when he said, you're the light of the world, he would have used the word, he said, you are the phos. P-H-O-S. You are phos. And we get the word photo from this original word Jesus used and said, phos. You are the light. You are phos of the world. You are a snapshot of Jesus, is what you are. Is we're set apart. We're salt. We're light. 8 years ago today, my dad passed away. 7 years ago today, our family opted to go to Dairy Queen in Mattoon to kind of remember my dad and kind of celebrate. 1 year he's been gone. Let's go to Dairy Queen. That was my dad's favorite place. We went and got biscuits and gravy at the Mattoon Dairy Queen. If you don't, you need to know about that. So 7 years ago today, we went to the Mattoon Dairy Queen, and we had biscuits and gravy to remember my dad. And that day we walked in, all of my dad's old friend group was sitting there in Dairy Queen. And it was about the best and the worst thing that could have happened, because it was like, oh my gosh, there's my dad. There's my dad's friends. And I will never forget, our whole family sat there, and my dad had one particular friend named Rich. As we were leaving, he said, hey, just stop right there. Just stop right there. Let me look at your eyes. And then they're talking, my dad's friends, do you see Scott? Look at him. Just look at him. I see your dad. And I'm sitting there like, this is kind of weird. Here's my eyes. And they're like, look at, he's a spitting image of his dad. You're the light of the world. You're a photo. You're a snapshot of your Heavenly Father. You're a snapshot of Jesus. You need to be giving people pictures of who Jesus is. That Jesus says, I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Verse 15, Jesus says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. I mean, that's almost like putting area rugs on hardwood floors. Maybe you've done that before. I don't think that makes much sense. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. And I don't know much about construction, but when I read that verse, I think about construction workers and guys that build homes, that they strategically put lights. Oh, here's the countertop. We're going to put a light right here. Oh, we're going to put a light right in the center of the room. So when the Lowers family walks in, the whole back room can be lit. We may throw in a couple extra lamps too, just because. But here's the thing is these construction workers know we're going to strategically place some lights within your home or within the building, above the kitchen, above the sink, in the family room, in the bathroom, in the van. You got some lights around your mirror that are strategically placed to light up every pore in your face. It's strategically placed. And God has strategically placed you to be a light. And Jesus says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. We talk about this with our kids often, like would they have a flashlight? You don't shine that in my eye. You shine it before me. Like you ever play hide and seek with your kids? You break out the flashlight. The first thing, I got a couple girls, the first thing they want to do is like, I don't want to put this down at your feet. I want to put this right in your eye. And Jesus is saying, shine your light before others, around others, so they can see the way. That they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And I know this. I turned to God because there were some guys in my life that displayed God, and their good deeds turned me toward God. And maybe you're here today because somebody's good deeds brought glory to God. And something's different about them. And Jesus is saying, let others, the good deeds that you apply and live out, let that be used to glorify God. And so what I just want to tell you is what my mom's probably telling your kids right now, is we're called to be set apart. Is we're called to be salt and light. And I'm so proud of us as a church that we've gotten this right, that this has been modeled for us. Jesus modeled this. The generation before us at this church modeled this. But we want to be set apart. We want to be salt and light. And I think through some of the things we've done as a church, is we're pulling off back to school bash every year, and we're giving away countless backpacks and haircuts and dental exams and painting all over kids' faces for the glory of God. I think about the international student dinner that we pull off. It's set apart. It's salt and light type stuff. I think about last week we communicated, hey, you could be a half-hour hero. That you could go spend 30 minutes a week with a kid and mentor and influence and be a light and be set apart and show up and shine. In November, we're going to give away over 800 Thanksgiving dinners to the community. We don't know who these people are half the time. We're going to be salt and light. We're going to be set apart. You're going to go shop in December for kids' Christmas gifts that you've never met them and you probably never will. And you're going to show up and provide Christmas for them. In January, as a church, we're going to run back the International Student Dinner again. We're going to appreciate teachers. We're going to volunteer at the Special Olympics. In the past year, this church, your generosity, has allowed us to be salt and light. We've given away over $130,000 to local and global missions. This church in the past 12 months, that's your generosity. That's you being salt and light. That's us being set apart. We're able to support, because of your generosity and the way you've opted to, I'm going to shine. We're able to support missionaries in New Zealand, the Philippines, Haiti, Cuba, FCA, Trey, the Christian Campus House. We're able to support Miranda Stewart, who's in St. Louis doing college ministry, because of us being salt and light and set apart, because of your generosity. I'm so proud of that. But this is more than just us as a church unit. This is personal. This is about you. Jesus is talking to a small crowd. Jesus is talking to his few disciples. And so we need to be set apart. We need to be different. And so if you're a note taker, I just want to tell you three things really fast. Number one is there's no secret agents in the Lord's army. And I don't know why this whole Lord's Army thing keeps coming up. Maybe because I'm talking to kids at home often and they connect with that in some way. There's no secret agents in the Lord's Army. If you would think about it like this, this might not do anything to anybody, but I don't want to derail you, but I want to use this illustration to help you understand. If Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift walked in the back door right now, I mean, y'all have an opinion. I'm not asking for it. There's no way they would blend in. There's no way. If they were here, we'd know. There's no way you, as a follower of Jesus, we should not blend in. There's no way. Like, oh, there they are. They're different. The vibe they put off is different. The way they talk is different. The way they look is different. The way they handle their finance. I'm not talking necessarily Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I'm talking to you now. Is you're set apart. We're not called to be secret agents. And when our girls walk out of their bedrooms at home, I'm talking about Kenzie, Evie, and Amber. Oftentimes as dad and husband, I'll say, oh my goodness, you're going to break the internet in that outfit today. Sometimes I'll say, oh my goodness, if somebody take a picture, you're going to go viral. And all I'm trying to say is for us, like your behavior should break the internet. Like that is so different. What in the world? There's something different about them. Or maybe you've been around somebody before and they're kind of like a B-level celebrity and you're like, I know that's somebody. Every time I'm in the airport, I'm pretty sure that's somebody. I take pictures of people and I send it to all my friends. Who is this? Somebody should be asking you, who is that? You're a follower of Jesus. What environment are you in that you're like, I'm trying to fly under the radar here? Oh, this one particular relationship I have or this one environment where it could get a little bit awkward or difficult, I'm flying under the radar. No. There's no secret agents in the Lord's army. That 1 Peter 2:9, Peter says this, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness and into his wonderful light. Is that you don't be a secret agent. The second thing I would encourage you to do is dare to be different. I have a friend right now that is rocking a flip phone. He's the most interesting person in every room he walks into. He's in tune with the people in front of him. He doesn't have a smart phone. He has a dumb phone, but he's smart. He's set apart. He's engaged with those that are around him. He's present in the moment he's in. He's the light, like not even online. He's the light like in the real life. I dare you to be different. Spoiler alert, in the weeks to come, in the next 11 weeks, in this same sermon, Jesus is going to tell you to love your enemy. That's different. Jesus is going to tell you should opt for reconciliation over retaliation. Jesus is going to tell us in a few weeks it's better to give than be greedy. Jesus is going to tell you should practice what I'm preaching. That would be different. I dare you to be different. We're called to be salt and light. We're called to be set apart. He's going to ask you to go the second mile. He's going to ask you to turn the other cheek. That's different. As Paul says this to the Ephesians 5:8, for once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. So live as people of light. Be different. Be different. John Piper, I read something of his this week. John Piper, a theologian, a pastor, he says, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. I dare you to be different. And lastly, I want to lean into you about shine in the midst of a struggle. You want to be set apart? Like, I don't know if you know this or not, but maybe you don't even want this. I don't even want to apply additional pressure to you. But when you're in some sort of pain, all of a sudden as a follower of Jesus, you have an additional platform. You have a new platform. You're under some sort of pain. Here's the platform. Here's your opportunity to shine. Maybe you've been through a season where you think you got like a little Jeff Probst survivor in your life. Like, hey, the tribe is spoken. Put your light out. Maybe you faced a season, you're in a season right now where you're like, I'm not sure who Jeff Probst is, but my light is definitely out. Like, okay, a trial came my way, and it's like things got difficult, and you went dark. You want to be set apart. You want to stand out. You want to be salt and light. Well, you shine in the midst of a struggle. The brightest thing I saw this summer, Mindy McKibben, who's a part of us here at the church, and her husband Larry was a part of the staff for a good while and volunteered to be on staff. And in about a 6-week span this summer, she lost her husband. 6 weeks later, she lost her mom. And in the morning of she lost her mom, she shows up and she serves on the prayer team. And she served on the prayer team all throughout the summer. And to me, the biggest impact anybody had on me this summer was you. Bright in the dark. You ever get to somebody and the closer you get to them, the brighter they are? You try a light for starters. If you just walk toward a light, wow, it's going to get pretty bright. I'm so thankful for the way Mindy shined this summer, and we saw something different through her. That your pain is a platform. Where is it that you're in the midst of a struggle right now? That you have the opportunity to shine. The stage is yours. And so I'm going to encourage you to lean into God, to walk with God, to trust God, to put His Word into practice, to embrace those Beatitudes, to recognize, I'm called to be set apart. I'm called to be different. I'm called to be salt and light. The Psalms 18:28 says, you, Lord, this is David in his prayer. He says, you, Lord, keep my lamp burning. My God turns my darkness into light. Isaiah 60, verse 1, Isaiah says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. And I want to just encourage all of you this morning that this is an all play for those that are all in. Like, if you've said yes to Jesus, and again, this whole sermon, the next 11 more weeks, he's talking to people that are following him. So if you're following Jesus, like, I just want to ask you, like, what's one area this week? Like, is there an area where you're kind of flying under the radar with your faith? Like, you're a secret agent. Like, maybe there's a space where you need to know, like, I need to leave my light on in this area, this environment, this relationship. I would ask you this, like, what's one area that you need to dare to be different? That you need to say, I've never wanted to have somebody over for lunch after church. I've never wanted to ask if they needed a ride. I've never wanted to give this way. I've never wanted to use my time in this way. I've never wanted to share my faith. Where is it that you need to dare to be different, that you need to dare to be set apart and shine your light? And then finally, what struggle are you maybe in the midst of right now, and what would it look like for you to shine? What would it look like for you to use your pain as a platform to say, hey, I'm following Jesus in the midst of this? And maybe you're here and you're not following Jesus. You just followed somebody to church this morning. You're like, well, they invited me, and I've seen their life, and God seems to be moving in them, and they seem different, and they asked me to come to church, or they asked me to come and check this out. And I said, yeah, because I've seen some of their good deeds. And I've seen, like, yeah, I'm kind of interested. I'll come to church with you. And I just want to tell all of you that the light we produce as Christians, we're almost more like the moon. We're just a reflective light. We're just trying to represent and reflect Jesus to you. But this whole thing is about the light that Jesus was. Jesus says in John 8:12, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you will have the light that leads to life. And a reflection of Jesus may have got you in the building this morning. But I want to tell you, the light of Jesus, the light, is the only way to heaven. That Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And maybe you're here this morning because, they seem nice and they seem to be a bright light. This whole thing's about Jesus. And I just want to ask you, have you opted for the light? Have you opted for the way, the truth, and the life? I want to give you an opportunity this morning to just say, hey, I'm turning my light on this morning. I'm following Jesus from this day forward. If that's you, I would encourage you to pray this with me as we close. God, thank you so much for sending your one and only Son for me. Thank you so much for showing up to be a light, to be set apart. God, thank you so much for paying the penalty of my sin on the cross. Thank you so much for resurrecting from the grave to give me hope at eternal life. I'm asking this morning that you would forgive me. I'm asking this morning that you would make me new. God, I'm asking this morning, I'm embracing my purpose, and I'm going to walk out of here as a reflection, as a light for you. God, I'm asking for every follower in the room that you'd give us opportunities to be set apart, that we'd shine bright. God, thank you for the ways in which you've given us as a church to be a city on a hill, to be set apart, to meet needs of people around us all throughout the world. God, thank you for the way you've blessed us. Thank you for the opportunities you've given us. I'm asking individually and as a church, God, you give us opportunities to just be different, to be set apart, to be salt and light to a world that's decaying, that needs us, that needs to see something different. God, we're your ambassadors. Would you use us this week? It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you so much for watching. We meet in person every Sunday at 9 and 10:30 a.m. and would love for you to join us. If you would like to get to know more about Home Church, we've linked our website in the description below. See you next time.